Hello and welcome to this Incisor tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll be walking through a step-by-step example of how to build native apps with Incisor's built-in Electron support. Note that some of the features in this tutorial require an Incisor Enterprise subscription. Electron is an open-source framework that lets developers build cross-platform desktop applications using web technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It bundles a Chromium browser engine and a Node.js runtime, allowing web apps to run as native desktop apps with access to system resources. Incisor can be configured to create Electron apps when projects are published. To demonstrate this, we'll start by making a new project and then make a few changes to make the project our own. When we publish this project, the files created are standard web content files, which you can see in the associated publishing directory. We want to turn these web files into a native app using Electron. To do this, we need to add an auxiliary publishing package to the configuration we are using to publish the project. Auxiliary publishing packages are defined in the project settings. As you can see, we can create different Electron publishing packages where we specify things about the published Electron app, such as the target OS and attributes about the app's appearance and behavior. Once you have defined your Electron publishing package, you can enable it within the configuration you'll be using to publish the project. Then we can save the project settings, and now whenever we publish the project using this configuration, Incisor will create a built Electron app that includes our published project. When publishing Electron apps with Incisor, it's important to watch for alerts and messages in the console, as some setup may be required. The Electron publishing process requires that npm, npx, and Node are installed globally on your system. If you attempt to publish with Electron without those dependencies, you will see messages in the console letting you know that they need to be installed. You may also need to grant Incisor permission to run npm commands. Publishing an Electron app can take a few minutes. When the publishing process is complete, we'll see that a folder with the name of our Electron publishing package has been populated in the publishing directory, and this is where we find our new native app. Opening this, we can see that we now have a native app running free of browser or web dependencies. Now let's take a closer look at the publishing process. When Incisor publishes with an Electron publishing package, a new directory by that name is created in the project's utilities folder. This directory houses the files that inform the creation of the Electron app. Electron apps host an internal Node runtime, and the JavaScript main for that environment is stored here in Electron main. All files placed here will be concatenated and included in the app, comprising its internal Node runtime. JavaScript files can be placed within the Electron preload directory, and these scripts will run before the core web content of the app starts running. Functionality allowing for communication between the Electron app's internal Node environment and the environment of the core web content can be set up here. To build the Electron app, Incisor deploys a Node library called Electron-Builder, and the package.json that configures this library is stored here in Electron package. The contents of these directories are compiled and used when creating the new Electron app, so customization beyond Incisor's built-in interface can be achieved by editing these files or including additional files. To illustrate an example of customizing Electron further, we can look at the Incisor slot template. The slot template incorporates extra Electron functionality to enable its published Electron app to communicate with an external process using a gRPC connection to get its game outcome data. So let's open the Incisor slot template. And remember, this project can be downloaded at incisordev.com. We can see in the EGM publish Electron package directory that there have been some modifications to existing files, as well as some added files. For example, in the Electron main directory, this grpc.js file sets up the functions within the published Electron app's Node runtime that handle the communications to and from the external process. Also, the Electron preload in this package has been altered to expose the grpc functionality to the core content's JavaScript runtime. These preload scripts make the gRPC features available to the web content in a controlled way. In addition, the Electron package.json file has been edited to ensure that the required gRPC dependencies are included in the published Electron app. Now, when the Electron app for this project is published, it can create a connection with any other gRPC-enabled process over port 50051. The Incisor slot template includes 2 examples of companion gRPC-enabled servers in the EGM publish package, and if you run either of them before opening the newly published Electron app, the connection is made and communication between the 2 processes is enabled. You can see that when we spin the reels in the published Electron app, a request is made of the external gRPC server to acquire the data for the game outcome. And you can even spin the game from within the external server by hitting the spacebar. So in this tutorial, we've walked through the full workflow of using Electron support in Incisor, starting from a standard web project, publishing it as normal web content, enabling an Electron auxiliary publishing package, and then looking under the hood at the directories that support the publishing of the Electron app. We also saw how the slot template takes things a step further by wiring up gRPC so your Electron app can talk to external processes in real time. The built-in support for Electron publishing in Incisor can be very useful in that it enables you to ship your published projects as a native desktop app, and it's built right into the standard Incisor publishing workflow. And this concludes the Electron publishing tutorial. Don't forget to check out INCISORDev.com for more tutorials and leave questions and feedback on Stack Overflow and our subreddit. Enjoy creating with Incisor.